Phil Rhudy, CFO. CFO does not mean what it typically means in the brewing business, but we're here at Independent Brewing Company. Chief Fermentation Officer, what does that mean?
It's just a play on words, CFO, Chief Financial Officer, and we make beer, so it's fermentation. So it's just kind of a fun thing to do, and people laugh when they see my signature.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. Adds a little color, not that you need it. So how did Independent Brewing in Bel Air, how did it become? What was the vision? Who had the vision? And how has it become the great success that it is today?
So people say to me all the time, you must have been planning this your whole life and dream to open a brewery. And in fact, it was the opposite. I've been brewing for 30 years and never thought to open a brewery. It was a few years ago, I think it was 2013, they changed the law in Annapolis to allow what we have here, which is a Class 5 brewery. So we don't need food, we just have to, the beer that we make is all we can sell on premises. So that model, when that was passed, kind of opened my eyes to opportunity. And at the time, from 2007 to 2014, I was traveling for a company out of Italy where I was doing a lot of West Coast and Portland, Seattle, beer cities. And, I just started really utilizing my time. So if I was going into a city that I knew there was a brewery that, had some value or had some respect, I would just call ahead and say, hey, any chance I can come in and hang out on a brew day and watch you guys? And most people are very respectful of that, especially when there's distance, because there's not a competitive arm that they worry about. So I started doing that, and then I just kept progressing. I took some Seabell Institute, which is the largest brewing school in the world. I took some online classes through them to kind of take my education to another level, where I was good at the mechanical and the physical part of brewing, but I didn't have a whole lot of understanding of the science and biology behind it. So I took this course thinking it was going to be easy, and it was very difficult. And so I learned a lot. So I was able to add the scientific and the biological exposure to what I know already is in the physical. So and I just kept traveling, and the more I did, I just kept getting more experience, and then I started taking notes. I had a dossier of notes, Portland, and I would list the breweries and list the beer, and I would put pros and cons, what I liked, whether it was sealing, whether it was the bartender's attitude, whether it was the decor of the place. And it's funny because when I first went to the planning commission on this project, I think everybody was like, there's no way in hell. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you have no idea how lucky you are that I have this much knowledge of this industry to bring this little concept to Bel Air. And I think I've proved them all wrong, and it's, we've been a very successful business. With that said, with success, it comes from people, and I believe in the value of people. So we hire the best of the best. Our average age of a bartender is in the 45 to 50 range. It's a little bit lower since we've had a little bit of turnover. So it's really about investing in your people and getting them to care enough about the business, or care as much as you. And I always use that term, take ownership, and that's kind of what we instilled in our staff in training. Everybody here is Cicerone certified, which is the first level beer certification, similar to a sommelier in the wine industry. It was a requirement for us to have people know what they're talking about. When people come up and say, hey, what do you have that's similar to Killian's Red? To be able to understand what the person's referencing and be able to guide them to something similar in our portfolio. And as personally, we just keep evolving. I'm a idea guy, and I just never stop thinking. Just as of today, we're putting new tents in. We're putting a fire pit in the grass area in the back. We just had the grass area fenced so that it's safer for dogs and children back there. And we just keep investing in the business. I would say that as far as reopening, there's no business safer than Independent. We put UV lights in all our HVAC system. We had the whole place professionally sanitized in March when we first shut down. We put hands-free door openers on the doors. We put touchless faucets in all the bathrooms. So we really have invested in safety and making sure that the experience is not sterile, like you get when you have to keep your mask on and social distance. If you're outside, 6 feet isn't really necessary within your group. So, and that's kind of where we are today. It's just we just keep brainstorming. We do a lot for the community, give back.
You do give back a lot to the community, and just to touch on that, I've noticed that even more so since we've been in this pandemic. I noticed that some nights you have vendors here, local farms, local crafters. People can come in and buy their merchandise. You are also posting those things on your social media, and they're doing the same for you, which is fantastic.
Yeah, those partnerships are critical because, like Krabby Axe, who was here, they're here tonight. Krabby Axe, they weren't open for a while because they were non-essential. They were axe throwing place. So they made a trailer or two, and they were going around doing events. So we booked them, and every Wednesday they come here, and you can do axe throwing in our parking lot. And it's we're just trying to reach out to the businesses that are really not able to be back to where they were with the marketplace. People don't think about how many farmers markets were closed down for a long time, and these people, it may not be their bread and butter, but like for the stay-at-home mom, that's the money that might go into the vacation bank, or we want to get a new sofa set for the living room. So, the money is still important, to the people, and that's what we try to do.
No, it's great. You also did this summer, just to touch on one of your activities that you did this summer when people weren't able to come in as much, you did a scavenger hunt where you hid cans throughout town. People could come in, bring those cans. Well, it also got people into town, which then again brought people into those boutiques and restaurants and got to see things that normally people wouldn't come into Bel Air for, which was phenomenal. And I mean, the outpouring of support from people, not even from Harford County, just being able to come in and walk around was phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that it helps everyone. It gets people in town, and the scavenger hunt was kind of a morph off our Easter keg hunt that we had to cancel back in April. And so it gets people into town. They're wandering around. They're just seeing these other businesses. And I can't tell you how many times I hear, I didn't even know Independent was here. I didn't even know that Sean Bowlings was here, or McGurk's. So as business owners, we like to believe that, we're doing everything we can to get to the market. But, we're only still touching on a small amount compared to, what we could get into here. So, being able to reach out with that arm to do different stuff. And I think the culmination of this scavenger hunt was the town cleanup, which the town provided bags and gloves, and we had it so that if you turned in a bag of trash, you got, I don't remember, half off a beer or something, or but that's what it's all about. We're a community, and tonight we have a runners club that we partners with that does a Wednesday night run, and I've already met 4 people that are like, this is the best thing. I never knew there was a running club in Harford County. I've made so many new friends, and that's really what it's about.
You also seem to be at the heart of what will be the full trail, Mile and Pa Trail, that will eventually connect up through Forest Hill, which is a good stopping point for you and good exposure for your business.
Yep.
Did you pick this location for that reason?
So yes, and a few others. That was a very, I would say that's probably 30 to 40% of the reason. I was on the board of the Mile and Pa Trail when we actually got it passed to be connected, and I specifically got on the board to help push it, because I'm like, look guys, we have a business right on this trail, and people will come to town if we get this connected. And so we got the trail connected. That was the opportunity to take what we thought would happen to a whole nother level. And but we located here because in the town of Bel Air, it's unique zoning. It's M1, which is very rare. M1 is manufacturing, so it allowed manufacturing. Brewery is a manufacturer that was already allowed. It allowed food trucks. It allowed some other things that we do here that wouldn't necessarily been allowed elsewhere in town. and even the county, because, again, it's a manufacturing designation for what we do here. That was probably more of the key. And of course, the third, and I think, probably a third of that ratio is now we bookend Bel Air with Looney's at one end, Independent at the other, and we have all these businesses in between. And I can tell you, I did a lot of demolition on this project. I spent 2 years literally tearing everything out myself. And it was desolate down here. Nobody walked down here. It was dark. The only people that you would see walking here were the people from the Dissension Center whenever they got out on Sunday night, and it was just desolate. And now it's exciting to see that there's activity. And even though the section's not finished of the trail, we do see customers that live that way that are still already using that passageway. So it definitely is a key element. I'm excited for when they get this done. I think COVID slowed it down because this was supposed to be out for bid and already awarded, and it's still not out for bid. So we're excited about that.
Good. That's fantastic. I think it's really going to bring a lot more to your company, to your business, and to your model, and allow you to do more activities, even though you have a lot currently, which is great. So it is exciting to see. Just to touch a little on COVID, since we talked about it, seeing when all the businesses shut down, I noticed, and I read a lot of online information about your company, and it was, I need to protect my employees first. I can't open until I can do that for them. So it was a lot of cleaning, a lot of sterilization, doing the UV light cleaning and things like that, not opening certain portions of your business. And then it was a lot of drive-by pickup. So now you're able to sell that out of the building, and you have another building that you built. Your 1-year anniversary is about ready to come up, the Funk House. It was established to be able to do beer. It also does, there's no children and pets allowed in the area.
So
that was the original point of it.
Exactly. The idea was to have an adult-only area, because it was one of our complaints for the older people that are empty nesters and don't have a dog. They're like, they don't want to come here and hear a dog barking or kids running by and tripping and crying in front of them. So we thought about it. It was a good opportunity to do something unique, and actually we have some ideas that we put on hold that we will bring back into the movement when things start to open up a little bit more. But it worked out really well for running the drive-through, because as far as the building itself with 3 garage doors was just perfect, because we just had online order. People could just pull up right to the door. We put it in our back seat, put it in the trunk. All they had to do was open it. It worked out really well. The downside is we physically shut down for 5 weeks, shut down production, because albeit a small portion of our business is restaurants and bars, other restaurants and bars, that business went away. So now I have no distribution whatsoever. And then of course the drive-through, and it's still a problem today, getting cans, getting supplies. I mean, right now there's a can shortage, and we have a guy here now, there's a CO2 shortage. These are critical things for small breweries, especially right now, and they're scary. I mean, I'm pretty proactive, so I have cans shoved everywhere. My staff laughed at me, but I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was like, cans, we gotta get cans. And I started just ordering cans. So I have a whole 10 by 30 storage unit over here full of cans, a whole shipping container back here full of cans. And now the shortage is CO2, which comes from fuel production and alcohol production, the neutral grain spirits. So, that industry slowed down a little bit. So now the CO2 availability has dropped off. And, my guy assures us that we're good, but just to be sure, we're getting a couple extra tanks put in, so that if there is a problem, we know that we can get through a few weeks instead of weekly refill of CO2. But COVID has definitely made a business have to really rethink their business model, and some of my staff probably think I'm nuts. Someone probably are shake their head when I come up with ideas. But my term getting through this from day one is we have to stay relevant. We can't let people forget who we are. We can't just disappear and say, we're shut down and whatever. And, my staff's done an amazing job of making sure that we're relevant. And now we have more T-shirts than we've ever had as far as varieties. We bought so I know we have another canning line. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there's a tabletop canner here. We have 3 of those now for different size products that we can can as needed for the customer. So, it's all stuff like that, just kind of figuring it out. And a lot of it's on the fly, and there's no guarantees. And I guess the main thing is, what's the worst thing that could happen? They not work. So you just go back to what you were doing before and say, sorry, it didn't work.
Well, to talk about your beers, you don't typically brew one type of beer. Just to let people know, what is I know you have seltzers, you have ciders, you have non-alcoholic beverages, as well as, wit beers and everything.
Sure.
And pale ales. It's not just one specific type. What is your most popular seller?
Well, our most popular seller by far is Blue Eyed Blonde, which was a second beer we made in this brew house. I had made a few beers on a smaller system that I have now at home, or back home, but it was the second beer we made, and it came from a very interesting scenario, which one of our house charities is Upper Chesapeake Life Net Cancer Center. And so a good friend of mine, my son played soccer with their son, and the husband was the coach, and the wife and I would sit on the bleachers and drink craft beer at the soccer games. And she came down with cancer, and she kept beating it and then getting worse, and beating it and getting worse. And so just out of the blue, we were in the bleachers one day. I said to her, I'd really like to get you in and brew a beer, have you there, like get some pictures and, name it after you, this is your beer. And she's like, oh, I would love that. And a week later, she passed away.
Oh.
So we made this beer in memorial to her. Her husband named it, and is by far 2-1 our bestseller.
That's fantastic.
And
That's a great story.
It's a really simple beer, and then through that we discovered Upper Chesapeake Life Net Cancer Center. It's been, a charity that we've done a lot for, over the years, and it's really another part of our involvement with the community. But it's supporting the families, whether it's cancer or COVID or whatever. I mean, every day, we're morphing and changing, and we have to brace each other in our relationships and know that someday.
Yep.
You'll see around here we have memorials.
You do. I've seen a couple memorials. I've been present for a couple, and what you guys do for them is phenomenal. And it's truly like you've become part of the community and part of the family. And I know people enjoy coming here. Never heard a bad story. Everything's fantastic. You do have a phenomenal staff. I hope people go onto social media, look for you, find out your activities that may be something that they're interested in, and are able to even come out and help you through your process now with COVID. I know you have a big event coming up. I believe it's the second to last weekend in October.
It is.
And it's your 5-year celebration.
Yep.
And so hopefully people can come out and support you, even if they just stop by. And it's a wonderful outdoor space that you've created. You have a grassy area. You have up here, you have the containers, as well as out on the parking lot, you've set up now 2 big tents, a stage for bands. It's phenomenal. I wish you all the best of luck. And thank you for coming to Bel Air.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.